Hey everyone, it's Justin here, America's Honest Tax Accountant from Number Crunch Nerds. In this video, we're going to begin Phase 2 of the 2026 Roth IRA conversion process. Let's take a quick look right down here in the 2026 conversion flowchart to make sure we understand where Phase 2 fits into the greater picture of doing our Roth conversions in 2026. Okay, so if you recall in last week's video, we talked about Phase 1 right here, which involves entering our actual 2025 year-end traditional IRA balances into the Roth Conversion Tax Strategy tab. Then we talked about Step 2 of the process right here, projecting our traditional IRA balance at the RMD start age. And then finally, we talked about Step 3 right over here, projecting RMDs through life expectancy. All three of those steps, as identified by the light blue section right here, constitute Phase 1 of the process. And so today in this video, we're moving down here to the light green section, where we will begin Phase number 2. Okay, so the first step of Phase 2 is step number 4 right here. And for this step, we're going to enter our estimated or actual 2025 taxable income. We also have the option to start with tax year 2024 instead of 2025. So how are you going to decide? Should you enter your estimated 2025 taxable income? Or should you enter your actual 2025 taxable income? Or should you just start down here with the optional approach of using your 2024 taxable income? Well, here is the process for making that decision. If your 2025 tax return is not yet filed, then you have two options. Option number 1 is to prepare your 2024 personal tax planning template column based on your 2024 as filed tax return. Alternatively, option number 2 is that you can prepare your 2025 personal tax planning column based on your estimate of your 2025 taxes. So to summarize that, if your 2025 tax return has not yet been filed, and thus you don't have any actual 2025 numbers to work with yet, because actual means they're coming off of an as-filed tax return, then you can either start here in this column with 2024 actuals, because at this point everybody's 2024 tax return should be filed, or you can choose to skip 2024 and just start with your 2025 column using estimates that you currently have until your 2025 tax return is filed. All right, now on the other hand, if your 2025 tax return has been filed, then what I would recommend is that you skip the 2024 column completely and prepare the 2025 column based on your as-filed 2025 tax return. Now, when I say prepare your 2025 column of the personal tax planning template based on your 2025 as-filed Form 1040, I mean set up these numbers in the 2025 column so they match exactly what you have on your tax return. For example, W2 box 1 for spouse 1 right here, I have 158,468. W2 box 1 for spouse 2, I have 54,872. If we add those two numbers together right here, we get 213,340, and 213,340 is what I would expect to see on line 1A of your tax return in this situation. Right here I have interest income, for which we will be entering this using the interest and dividend entry tab within the personal tax planning template. In this case, I have 13,847 of interest income. Therefore, I would expect on line 2B of your as-filed 2025 tax return, the line for taxable interest, I would expect 13,847. Okay, now going down here to the non-qualified dividends line of the personal tax planning template, we have 36,558 of non-qualified. We also have down here in the long-term capital gain and qualified dividends section, qualified dividends of 16,884. Now the 16,884 therefore I would expect to specifically see on line 3A of the tax return, which is the line for qualified dividends. Now, in order to see the amount on line 3B, which is $53,442 on this tax return, we're going to take the non-qualified dividends off the personal tax planning template plus the qualified dividends right here. We're going to add those two numbers together, and that is how we will arrive at our $53,442 of total ordinary dividends. Okay, next item, short-term capital gain or loss from investments on the personal tax planning template 26,318. Right down here in the long-term capital gain section, we have long-term capital gain or loss, in this case $6,558. When I add together the short-term capital gain plus the long-term capital gain, we get $32,876, and that is what I would expect to see right down here on line 7A, $32,876. Okay, next item, traditional IRA distributions, which are not Roth conversions or RMDs. In this case, we have a $20,000 distribution. In addition to that, right here, Roth IRA conversion for spouse number 1 in 2025, the amount was $120,000. The grand total right here of these two types of distributions is $140,000, and that is what I would expect to see right here on line 4B, $140,000. Okay, next item, Social Security for spouse number 1 and Social Security for spouse number 2. In this case, I have $34,000 for spouse 1 plus another $25,500 for spouse 2. The grand total of that is $59,500, and that is what I would expect to see on line 6B of the tax return. Then coming right down here, this is our Schedule 1 adjustments. You may have none, some, or all of these lines populated, just depending on your situation. In this case, let's just assume that this couple has $4,145 of net rental income. If that was the only item on Schedule 1, I would expect to see that number right here on line 8, $4,145. And then here is the line on the personal tax planning template for adjusted gross income. In this case, we have $517,150. There is our adjusted gross income line on the tax return, $517,150. Take note of these 1040 tax return tie-outs right here. This line on the personal tax planning template should agree to form 1040 line 11A and B for 2025, and it does. Line 11A and line 11B are going to always be the same number on the 2025 tax return. These are both AGI. Take a look at this review I just received the other day. Good afternoon, Justin. I wanted to reach out and let you know how much I appreciate the personal tax planning template. I spent the last year vetting many different options, but yours is by far the most logical and easy to follow. On that note, let's keep following the personal tax planning template further down all the way to the tax line. Right here, the personal tax planning template will calculate your self-employment tax if applicable. It will calculate your net investment income tax if applicable. It will also calculate your additional Medicare tax if applicable. In this particular case, the only applicable item is net investment income tax of $3,964. And so in that situation, that is what I would expect to see on line 23 of the tax return right here, $3,964. And then finally, right down here on the total tax line of the personal tax planning template, the tie-out indicates that this should agree to Form 1040, page 2, line 24. The template has calculated $108,489, so that is what I would expect to see right over here on line 24 of the tax return, $108,489. When we are setting up a column inside of the personal tax planning template based on an as-filed tax return, we should be able to tie out to that tax return down to the dollar. By the way, if you are self-preparing your tax returns for 2025 and would like additional assistance and extensive video-based guidance, my 2026 tax season prep and planning class launches February 1st, 2026 and continues through April 15th, 2026. 2026. If you are interested in that, you can find a link to watch my all-new video FAQs about the class in the description below this video. As I said last week, for 2026 Roth IRA conversion planning on the channel, we will be doing some learning milestones which I will present to you in the form of questions about your tax plan. So the question for this milestone is, can you reconcile your as-filed 2025 or 2024 tax return within the personal tax planning template down to the dollar? In other words, can you enter your tax return data and get all of the personal tax planning template 1040 tie-out lines to agree to your return? Because that's how we get the base year from which we will project your income into the future. Remember that step 5 of the 2026 Roth conversion flowchart is to project your taxable income before conversions through the RMD starting age. And in order to do that, we need a base year to project from. So on that note, I have just uploaded video number 1 of the 2026 flowchart Step 4 series to the members area for the personal tax planning template program. We are going to work meticulously through steps 4, 5, and 6 of the Roth conversion flowchart over the upcoming weeks and months within the personal tax planning template, and by the time you are done with the Step 4 video series, you will be able to tick and tie your as-filed tax return data within the personal tax planning template down to the dollar, which, by the way, constitutes the completion of milestone 2. In addition, by the time you are done with the upcoming video series for steps 5 and 6 of the flowchart, you will be able to project your income 1 out through RMD age and 2 out through life expectancy while accounting for widow's penalty, RMDs, and the early retirement drop. So if you're already a member of the Personal Tax Planning Template program, you can simply log in at your convenience and check out all of the new 2026 training video content. And if you're not already a member, the Personal Tax Planning Template is available for purchase at the link in the description below this video. Tax years 2026 through 2028 will be an excellent time for folks in the Roth conversion sweet spot to complete annual conversions while taking advantage of number 1, historically low tax rates, number 2, the enhanced senior deduction for folks age 65 and older, and number 3, getting that pre-tax IRA money across the tax line in the married filing joint brackets as applicable, to minimize the hit to your family's pocketbook from the effects of widow's penalty for both income tax purposes and IRMA. Your purchase of my personal tax planning template and video training program gives you lifetime access to what is arguably the most comprehensive and accessible individual income tax training program on the market in the United States today. Quote, "I love that I can see where every number comes from" is one of the most common compliments that I hear about the personal tax planning template. Gone are the days of the other guy's black box tax planning software. That number 1 spits out some results that you don't understand based on number 2 calculations that you cannot see. In the personal tax planning template, you can see every number and every calculation. Plus, you will get all new 2026 line-by-line video training content that will be released regularly throughout the first half of 2026, in addition to all of the 2025 training content, which is accessible to you at any time. Take a look at some of these recent comments from members of the Personal Tax Planning Template program. Right down here, good morning, Justin. It is so helpful and stress reducing to have a good idea of my current and future tax positions using the Personal Tax Planning Template. I've learned a lot from watching your videos and using the Personal Tax Planning Template spreadsheet. Thank you for all that you do. And then over here, hi Justin. First of all, thanks thanks for all that you do to help out those of us who prepare our own tax returns and do our own tax planning by providing this amazing spreadsheet. That particular comment was signed by someone who noted that they are a former CPA and tax accountant. And then right down here, hi Justin, your spreadsheet is amazing, as is all of the work you've put into the videos. It's like having a financial advisor report whenever I want for whatever changes happen or that I want to model. And then one of my favorites right over here, your videos are so detailed and understandable. Thank you for helping us primarily old school retirees. As I said before, you can find a link to join the program in the description below this video on YouTube. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.